Hey guys, Louis Freeman here again. Today we're playing some more Hearts of Iron 4 Kaiserreich mod. And I think today we're going to go for the Ottomans. Of course, that's a country I played a bit of when I was learning, quite a bit of when I was learning Hearts of Iron 4. I played Kaiserreich Ottomans quite a bit. I just got a rework. So I think we'll give it a go. I think probably a lot of other people are also going to do this. They seem to be like a pretty popular country. We'll give it a go anyways. I did notice, when we were playing our France game, there's they formed some sort of liberal federation or some shit. This is another blind playthrough. I haven't looked at any developer guides or anything like that. I have heard a few things. I heard the Osman Fowd rides out thing is still an event chain that exists. And I also, I think apparently we annexed Jerusalem or something like that, early on or something like that. I don't know very much. But I do know that when you're playing as Egypt, they give the Ottomans a buff because they were too weak or something. I think one of the developers was saying. So they did a little bit of balancing, but I don't think you don't get that when you're a player on the Ottoman Empire. So that's interesting. Interesting. Does this change per? Well, it's like something on our province or something. We've got something going on here. Never seen that before. That's pretty unique. Declare martial law. I guess hopefully there'll be an explainer about what this stuff is. I guess they're using that instead of this occupied territories thing. I don't know. I have heard that Ottoman has problems with resistance. But I'm not really sure. Blind playthrough. Haven't looked at this country before, so let's just go ahead and see what we got here. So we are Abdulmecid II, and we are Sultan of the Arts here, which is going to give us shitty political power gain, negative war support, but he's very stable, so I guess that's not too bad. Stability's nice to have. Let's check out these natty spirits here. So we're Institutionalized Islam. This is going to cut. Wow, that's a pretty hefty political power gain malice you get there. Minus 35%. That definitely sucks. We get some stability, though. Religion has always played an important role in the Ottoman Empire, to no small degree because our Padishah is the Caliph of all Islam. Nonetheless, it would take until Abdulhamid II until one could really speak of an organized state religion wherein Constantinier arranged everything from protection of the holy sites to education of the ulama. Striving for a policy of pan-Islamism, the faith was seen as the metaphorical glue holding the empire together under the Sultan Caliph himself. This control, however, has come at a cost, as by bringing Islam closer to the chest, it as well now influences state policy at a higher level with various large Sufi orders possessing incredible political capital and opposing many of the attempted secularist reforms. I went to school with a couple Muslim people, and I asked them about the I'm pretty sure he said Sufis and Ahmadis were pretty big heretics and they were looked down upon. So I don't know if if that happens at all or something. There's some sectarianism in the Ottoman Empire. Maybe. Widespread illiteracy, so our people can't read and we can't research shit. Literacy is widespread amongst the common people of the empire, as both the difficulty of the Perso-Arabic script and the general disinterest of the lower classes to even bother learning to read is greatly hampering the industrialization of our grand empire. That sucks. Armed neutrality. So we're going to get 1% recruitable population. I guess that's okay. We're going to get more stability and defense in core territory at the cost of some war support. That's not too bad. I'm seeing a lot of stability buffs here. But our stability is still only 45%. So something else must be going on there. The brave men who fought against imperialism during the Weltkrieg lay scattered around the empire in military mass graves, and total casualties of the war encompass over 25% of our pre-war population. We cannot forget, nor can we forgive, what the imperial powers have done to us. Dark clouds are gathering above Europe, and with the fear of renewed war increases, but we shall not be part of it. Okay. I'm pretty sure they joined the Entente last time, so this seems like a lie. Stability of the realm. Okay, so I think this has something to do maybe with that pop-up. From the deserts of Syria to the mountains of Kurdistan and the hills of Cyprus, the Ottoman Empire exercises control over its citizens. Nonetheless, these citizens do not always like being ruled by Constantinier and are proving more often than not an issue to the overall stability of the realm. The higher the local instability of our vilayets, represented by unrest, the larger the penalty on our nation. The following values are calculated per state and added to an empire-wide total. Low, medium, or high, okay? Updates dynamically. Ottoman Empire. Garrison penetration chance. So I think that's like the minus 100%. Damage to garrison is minus 100%. Stability minus 29.5%. So is that like supposed to affect resistance mechanics or something? I mean, damage to garrison and garrison penetration chance buffs are that seem pretty good. We'll look at that later. So we're authoritarian Dem. We have party popularity 46%. So I mean that's not too bad. Occupations. So we're occupying a bunch of people. Looks like. It's like Iraq. Iraq is like over here by Baghdad or some shit, right? Over here. I think. Do they have this pop up too? They do. So I guess this is maybe like for non-resisting countries or something like that. It's going to hit your stability or something. This is Kurdistan. Is Kurdistan resisting? They are, but the Iraqis are not. Huh. So I'm not sure what's up with that mechanic. So we're occupying some of Cyrenaica's clay over here. I guess that makes sense. We have Benghazi. Looks like I did remember seeing that when we were playing France. The Ottomans have like a little bit over here, and I guess we're also occupying like a bunch of this stuff over here as well. We've got some Greek clay and we've got some Kurdish clay. In addition to Hejaz, Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and Tripolitania. What's going on with this stuff over here? I guess we have claims on Sinai. But it's a separate country. It looks really similar in color to the Ottomans, so like that's pretty... It doesn't really stick out very much. That'd be easy to miss and just think it's a general demilitarized zone. But it is a separate country. Alright, so we have volunteer only. We have export focus, and we have toaster economy, so pretty standard laws. We have... I guess some puppets here. Jabal Shamar, Cyrenaica, Jerusalem, Yemen, and what the hell is this? Armenia. Armenia still exists? That's interesting. Okay, so we've got Armenia as our puppet. Let's see here, government. We've got Mustafa Kemal, I guess is our head of government. And he gives us negative stability, but he's going to give us political power, recovery rate, construction speed, and research speed. So, with all the stability buffs we have, I mean, that seems pretty good. We've got this guy over here. Political power gain, that's not bad. I mean, we're going to need that. Political power gain and construction speed. Political power gain and construction speed. So that's pretty good, I think, because we have this negative 35% malice. I mean, of course, it only means we're getting... 2/6 about of that actual buff, but yeah, so our political power is going to be like complete dog shit over here. We're only getting 0.34 a day after we take our national focus. Got maneuver, psychology, fire support, commando operations, and defense. Elastic defense, autonomy, armored spearhead, static defense, and commando doctrine. So I noticed we don't have guns and butter, so we're not going to be able to get that supply bonus. I guess there's one over here, but division defense probably isn't as good. I think guns and butter gives you organization, if I remember correctly. Probably more important than defense. Navy, we have base control, indirect approach, open seas. Air, we have vertical envelopment, air superiority, battlefield support, naval aviation, and carpet bombing. So we are missing what looks like a couple things, but like overall, like probably not too bad. We don't have decisive battle either. So we are missing a couple. Tank designers, let's see here, max speed, defense, light tank production, and breakthrough and reliability. And that's okay. We don't have anything that increases soft attack though. So that's usually one of the better ones, soft attack against AI infantry stacks. We got destroyer and submarine. Looks like attack and range up. And cruiser armor, anti-air visibility. I mean, that's not too bad. Visibility is a good stat to have. Air defense, max speed, reliability. We don't have an agility fighter manufacturers. Like, that kind of sucks. We got negative 15% motorized and mechanized. It's not too bad. RD, defense and soft attack. Or RD, soft attack breakthrough. Infantry equipment. It's like, this is an interesting one. It gives you like plus 4% to like a whole bunch of different stats. That's kind of neat. I think I remember seeing that before. I think like Canada used to have something like that, or like there's a couple companies that are a little bit different. So like, that's kind of interesting. You don't see that too often. Infantry equipment plus 15% attack. That's nice. Attack and defense over here. So that one's not too bad. So you get some okay companies with the infantry equipment. Research speed. Steel plus 8. Does that mean we just get 8 steel? That's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before, so that's kind of cool. Civilian factory construction speed plus 5 is a bit low. This is like the standard company you'd get, 10% for both. Refinery plus 15%. I don't think we'll need refineries, given our board position. Infrastructure plus 20%. This isn't bad, like especially if you're trying to push into Russia, you're going to be building a lot of infrastructure. I have heard that the Russian expansionism tree did change a little bit to reflect changes in the Middle East, so I'm not sure if Russia still comes to war with us. I imagine they probably would. So once we're done dealing with that fat fuck Farouk, we'll have to deal with whoever Russia thinks is a good leader. And petroleum country, fuel silo, construction speed 10%, and oil. That again, oil, like these resources in the industrial company, I don't think I've seen that before. I think that might be unique for the Ottomans. Like, that's cool that they did that. I like to see different things like that. Unfortunately, oil, like steel, maybe we might need steel, but oil, I don't think oil will be a problem for us once we've like, iced all these fools. We'll have tons of oil probably. And we could even like probably kill Azerbaijan if we needed to. I guess depending on how that plays out. It's nice if Russia takes Azerbaijan and then like you could take it off the Russians and you don't have to deal with the German guarantee. It's like those are some pretty cool companies. I like that. I like that. Decisions. So we have war propaganda, and it looks like we might have some decision mini games. You guys know I hate those, but I mean here we are. When integration of Syrian vilayets reaches 50%, the Syrian states can be upgraded to vilayet status, and when it reaches more than 100%, they can be upgraded to Ottoman province status. For more info over the Greater Syrian region in its relation to the port, however, hover over the question mark. I guess we'll hover over the question mark. The vilayets of Syria stretch out from the city of Aleppo in the north to the deserts of Ma'an and serve as the center point of Arab resistance to the Ottoman authority. From all the Arab holdings in the empire, Syria was always seen as most important, which is reflected in its relative economic power. It was also the most politically active region in the Mashriq, the center of Beirut and Damascus forming the forefront of developing Arab nationalism. I like how that's in red. Damn Arabs. Red for bad. Once can, however, not should that say one can, however, not? Probably not once. One can, however, not pinpoint where Anatolia ends and Syria begins, as the intricate mingling of population groups make Greater Syria one of the most diverse regions in the world, forming the home to over a dozen regions and ethnicities. This sectarian tapestry, in yellow, I guess, shouldn't that be green? Like, isn't diversity our strength? Has hindered the development of a full Arab nationalist character and the promotion of a regionalist character. Aleppo, Beirut, Damascus, Homs, etc. all form their own communities with their own goals and ambitions, which has led to constant political bickering. This constant fighting between cities and powerful families has, in the last few years, started to pave the way towards an initial attempt at bringing mass politics and populism to the common people. Successes for now remain limited, but the influence from the international and far-right movements on the European continent are flowing through the cosmopolitan city of Beirut. Okay, so we've got, I guess, Syria, Greece, Kurds, and the Arab Peninsula, and the Iraqis, and Metropolitania. So I think that's like so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I guess there are a couple we don't have to worry about. I don't think I saw that Trucal States thing over there. Like they're not in this list over here. I think neither is Lebanon. Maybe Lebanon is included in Syria. Seems like that's the case. So it can be upgraded to Vilayet status. So what is it? Let's go to... Still not really explaining how this whole system works. Maybe we'll get to that later. Okay, so we've got Greek lands, centralization of the Greek islands. Serving as the upper and middle class, intellectuals, artisans, and landowners, the Greek population of the empire is an interesting position within the state structure. Although the Anatolian Greeks are almost fully intertwined with their Turkish counterparts, the islands of the Adriatic coast and the special administrative unit of Cyprus are far less attached to Constantinople. Serving as hubs for the Greek nationalist rhetoric and often adhering to the dream of Magali, these islands have proven themselves tricky to control and out of imperial control for multiple decades. The return to the empire after the collapse of first Italy and then the British Empire was not seen by all as a positive development, and the Ottoman rhetoric remains strong. Okay. Let's look at these decisions. Oh, wow, Jesus Christ, this is a lot of text. So we can abolish the Mutasar fate of Mount Lebanon. So I guess to integrate, we're going to really mess up our stability and unrest. This gives us political power and increase over there. Okay. So this gives us 20% integration. This also gives us 20% integration. Civilian factory use to get an infrastructure and some more integration. So we're at 25. We need to get 50. So like maybe we want to avoid doing the stuff that like gives us these negative malices. I guess we'll have to see. It's like these are like, it looks like different. We can pay some stuff, or we'll take a malice to get some things like some integration, and like it looks like some of these come with extra benefits attached. So I guess the first part of our game will be annoyingly spent on dealing with this shit. And probably imagine that's how she's gonna go. We have a free one we can click here even. So this is gonna lose 10,000 manpower. Cyprus gets 10,000 manpower, and we'll get some free integration. And we'll also get unrest and some army XP. And that's interesting. Unrest in Cyprus. Where is Cyprus? Over here. And Cyprus is Greek. So it says unrest. Does that mean resistance, or does that mean something else in that pop-up, I wonder? The Kurds. The relationship between Constantinople and the Kurdish population of eastern Anatolia and northern Mesopotamia has always been a precarious one, filled with both cooperation and conflict. When the last Kurdish princely houses were dismantled in 1874 to 48, the Kurdistan was formally placed under direct rule from Constantinople. A loss of native tradition and leadership occurred, which has had catastrophic effects for the Kurds. The absence of authority to keep tribal sheikhs and fanatical religious leaders at bay led to their increased power in the eastern vilayets and years of massacres throughout the region amongst non-Sunni citizens such as the Armenians or the Alevi. During the rule of Abdulhamid II, the last years of the CUP autocracy, these were freely employed to genocide the Armenians. Wait. I thought Erdogan said that never happened. These are lies. To genocide the Armenians or to restore order to unruly parts of the empire, and although aversion by the post-war establishment towards these practices is increasing, they still rule the Kurds as their allies, such as the Sufi order of the Naqshbandi, hold vast influence in the capital and the empire in general. During the rule of Abdulhamid II in last years of the CP autocracy. So I think, is that talking about the tribal sheiks still? I guess the tribal sheiks still have influence? Okay. The autonomy they are currently enjoying, however, is a curse in disguise, as the OHF has clearly shown their intentions to eradicate the regional power of these religious authorities. It's planning to fundamentally change the freedom of the Kurdish sheiks currently possess. Who is the OHF? Is that us? Yes, we are. So I guess we're trying to clamp down on Kurdish independence or something. Arab Peninsula. That's the Greek islands. We don't care about them right now. Containing the holy cities of Medina and Mecca, the vast deserts of Inner Arabia, and coastal cities of Jeddah, Qatar, and Bahrain, the Arab Peninsula is a patchwork of emirates and tribal rivalry. Not only is Ottoman authority here minimal at best, but in the deserts of the interior, war is being waged between the Rashidi Federation of the north and the Saudis in the south. As a focus on centralization of the state and consolidation of currently held territory remains, many in the capital have argued that the peninsula is a lost cause, a waste of time, and a drain on resources that we do not have, and that it would be better to exploit the rivalry of the tribes to keep their attention away from the empire rather than to overextend ourselves and risk awakening a united resistance. The same cannot be said over the Hejaz, however, where the cities grant the caliph his legitimacy and where the earnings of the Hajj provide a valuable asset to the state coffers. Nevertheless, the failed Hashemite revolt has left its scars, and although the Ottoman army ensures the stability of the region, it is commonly referred to by common soldiers as one of the worst postings in the empire. Travel raids are a near constant affair, and as the birthplace of the revolt, the region also serves as a rallying point for various Arab freedom fighters whose anger against the regime fulminates in armed aggression towards its soldiers. The completion of the Hejaz Railway and its expansion during the 1920s has drastically increased our authority over the region, but outside of urban regions, a web of bribery, intimidation, and loose alliances with its local rulers provides a shaky balance. Okay. It's like, are there any good ones over here that aren't waiting to explode in our face? Iraqi lands over here. Both the richest and poorest region of the Ottoman Empire, Iraq is a region riddled with contradictions. After its conquest by Selim I, the region was home to the main battlefield between Ottoman and Persian empires. Serving as a border province, it was also treated as such, with development leaving much to be desired and poverty widespread. Furthermore, local groups would take control over the region during the 18th century, and it would take until the middle of the 19th century before actual Ottoman government could be restored to the region. The 19th century would bring much change to Iraq as an attempt to counter the Persian and later Russo-British threat. The government finally recognized the need for reform and invested considerable resources in settling tribes, constructing communication lines, and later infrastructure, shown nowhere better than in the Berlin-Baghdad project. Bidhat Pasha, Wall of Baghdad, and later the Grand Vizier, who would introduce the Ottoman Constitution in 1876, marked a significant leap in this regard, as throughout the region from Mosul to Basra, massive strides were taken. As European penetration rose, however, around the turn of the century and with the rise of Arab nationalism after the raid on the Sublime Porte, Iraq, although far less so than its Syrian and Hijazi counterparts, began to link an alternative to Turkish rule. To counter these sentiments and to ensure a stable frontier, the post-war governments pumped tremendous resources into Iraq to mold it into a modern Ottoman province. Education, construction, conscription, etc. all saw massive increases as Iraqi officers and politicians were used to counter Syrian ambitions. Okay, so we have to, we can make it a province after 100%, and we start at 50. Centralization of Tripolitanian lands. The integration of the Tripolitan, so it's the same thing it looks like for all, 50 and 100. Actually consisting of three distinct regions, the Regency of Tripolitania has been at the side of the Sultan ever since 1551. Despite its age, the government in Constantinople didn't interfere much in its local affairs, and its poverty and lack of a decent agricultural base made it too expensive to embark on costly military campaigns to quell the local tribes. Nevertheless, what the Italians would refer to as Libya formed a vital piece in the trans-Saharan trade, as access to the Fizzan, as the oases of the Fizzan were the last stop before the Sahel. The sheer size of the region ensured that the Ottoman control was barely felt outside a few coastal centers, and it would take until the American invasion in the early 19th century before the Porte would finally take measures to tie it further to the crown. The implementation of the Tanzamat Reforms saw little success in the region, as only in Tripolitania much progress could be recorded. It would take until the turn of the century before the changes of the Ottoman regime would start to infiltrate the interior, but even then, Fizzan and Cyrenaica were left almost entirely untouched. The Italian invasion in 1911 did little to affect the general social structure in the region, as the Ottomans and notables, which governed the coastal strip, returned from their exile and retook their place in society. As Ottoman attention was drawn to the Mershik and saddled with economic depression caused by the Weltkrieg, the region saw little economic development. Illiteracy outside the main cities is higher than anywhere else in the empire, and the economy still largely depends on the rainfall in the given year and how the few industrial operations running before the war have almost all been forced to close down, as a lack of export partners and resources makes anything but limited agricultural nigh impossible. Great. So our empire is full of a bunch of traders, and it's sad and fucked up. So that's wonderful. So I guess that's our decisions. So we have war propaganda, and I noticed, boys, we are missing the send in the army and the improve political popularity decisions. I wonder if that's on purpose. We don't have the political actions tab, I guess. So I guess we're stuck with these events. Alright, so I'll have to think about that, but this seems like we're going to have to look at this and come up with a plan in order to have a playthrough that doesn't blow up in our face, maybe. That seems pretty important. Intelligence agency, we do not have one. Maybe we want one? I'll have to take a look at that pop-up and see if there's any tooltips that'll give us some more hints into how this system works. Represented by unrest. So I guess unrest, that seems not the same as resistance. I think if it was resistance, they would just call it resistance. Alright, so let's take a look at our tech here. So we have 1918 rifle. So this is bad. You don't want 1918 rifle. You want 1936 rifle. It's pretty much as fast as you can. We have trucks. We have armored cars. We have mountaineers. We have engineers, military police, and field hospital. So that's pretty unique. I don't think you usually see field hospital as a starting tech for, I think, anyone. So that's cool. I wouldn't be using them anyways, probably. That's a lot of support equipment, and unless you're really strapped for manpower, and even then. We have Light Tank 1 researched already. That's neat. Of course, I think unless they change the resources, Ottomans are sitting on a huge pile of chromium, so probably want to build heavy tanks. So, I don't know. At least you start with Light 1, though, so if you wanted to play with light tanks early, you could build Light Tank 1. Maybe switch to heavy later. We have artillery. We have no doctrine. I don't remember the Ottomans. I know they used to start with Grand Battle Plan, I think. But I know their tree used to not have to force you to pick, but we'll have to take a look at that later. So maybe we're forced to pick a certain one if we want a bonus. Ship design. So we have 1936. We don't have carriers. We have all the subs. We have the heavy ships. We don't have dreadnought. And we have destroyers and cruisers. And we have improved light guns already too, which is nice. No transport, so you can't do naval invasion. You have to research that. And coastal mines. Contact mines, so we have the first mine tech. I don't really use mines all that much. No naval doctrine. For air, we just have the ship planes. We don't have anything modern. No doctrine, no engineering, and no industry. We have 3 research slots, so that's standard for regional. And we're at a net negative 9% after our economy law, and our, homeboy Mustafa Kemal giving us plus 1%. Thanks, buddy. Diplomacy. Wow, okay. So we have puppets, Jabal Shamar, Jerusalem, a vilayet of Armenia, Yemen, Cyrenaica. We have a guarantee of independence on Jerusalem. There are puppets. I think that's probably a little bit weird, but maybe there's something that happens later. And it's also weird that we have military access because they're also our puppet. Okay, but we have military access there. And we have military access to a German Empire. So, that's cool. Are we giving them military access too? I would think so. Mandate of Jerusalem is an international mandate of a foreign power. So we can't actually request forces or anything over there. What about these guys? Ottoman Emirate. So it looks like our puppets actually pretty shit. This puppet type is pretty awful. Yes, we don't have recruitment of their manpower. We can't request their forces. Of course, we're not occupying them, so I don't think we're getting any factories. So them being an emirate seems pretty awful. That seems pretty dumb. So I guess maybe that just restricts their geography, but they give us no actual benefit for being our puppet. So I guess we're not going to be able to order 66 of them, which is that's a bit disappointing. And then we have a bunch of people who like us and like a bunch of people who don't. We don't have any other treaties. Trade. So we still have like that pile of chromium. So if you're going to make tanks, like heavy tanks, you won't have to trade for tungsten. So that's usually a good choice, is the Ottomans, heavy tanks. And we've got like 58 oil, so we got lots of oil. Our steel is not great though. Like 6 steel is not a whole lot. Construction, it looks like we have quite a few actually. Like, well, not quite a few, but like a decent amount available to build stuff with. In production, we're making our rifles, artillery. We do have trucks we can make. We have armored cars we can make, and we have light tanks we can make. I have to think about that. We have the Emerson class here. Weltkrieg light ship hull. We're making 12 of them. Okay. Recruit and deploy. So some templates. We've got Suvari for Kasi. We are not making support equipment, I noticed. So that's a problem. Poyedi for Kasi. So, alright. 12 with Cav, military police. 18 with infantry. 12 with mountaineer. 12 with infantry with support artillery. Tank taburu. So this is 12 with infantry with a tank stuck on the side. That's odd. Alright, let's change some of these symbols here. Like this, I guess, can be this knight symbol. That's what I usually use for that unit. These guys, I guess, could be rifles. Garrisons can be this, I don't know, this thing over here. And I guess that's like a... Well, you can just leave them as a horse for now, even though they are like a suppression unit. Alright, logistics. So we have some infantry equipment in stock, and some motorized and some light tanks. So we do have some equipment stockpiled already. Let's take a look at our army. So I guess we're deployed all over this peninsula over here. That's a problem. So our divisions are actually like pretty significantly under strength actually in terms of equipment. Yeah. So we're missing like probably a lot of rifles, I would imagine. So maybe we should be consolidating these units. I don't know. Alright, let's take a look at what we have though. Alright, so we have 3 units of mountaineers, 5 units of garrison. I call them a garrison, but the 5 units of 12 with infantry with the artillery, 20 units of the 18 with infantry, and 7 units of cavalry with the military police. Yeah. That seems pretty fugly. I don't know about that. Like, so we need support equipment, and we need artillery, and we need rifles in this army. And we only have a few factories. I don't think we're going to make these points. So we're probably going to want to swap some of these templates around to make our production like match up with that. So up here, 1.34 political power per day. I mean, that's going to be low. That's very low. 46% party popularity. That's okay. Stability's okay. War support is 0%, which is pretty rough because we're not going to be able to up our mobilization law or for our economy. Manpower. I mean, that's not an awful. We're going to be probably more industry limited than manpower limited at the moment. And we are, of course, only on volunteer. 24 factories, so we have 9 more civilian factories to use that we can play around with. 5 military and 3 docks. Fuel, we have like quite a bit of oil, like you saw there in the trade tab there, for a small country, anyways. So oil is probably not going to be a problem for us when we have 100k, which is still not that much, but we still have 100k stockpiled. 49 convoys, and the usual zeros over here. Let's take a look at our other branches here. So we have an ace. And so you start with an ace, that's pretty cool, with 50 fighters and 25 tactical bombers. Looks like we have German planes. So tiny air force, but it's probably better than I imagine these I don't know, Arabs and Egyptians are gonna have. So navy, what do we got here? So merge that together, and maybe have them meet up at I don't know. I guess we would send them to Constantinople. Alright, so it looks like we have 3 battleships, 2 capital cruisers, 4 escort cruisers, and 6 destroyers. Fleet of 4 destroyers over here, fleet of 6 submarines, another battleship, capital cruiser, and 4 destroyers. I think let's tell us up here what our total is. So we have 4 battleships, 4 escort cruisers, 3 capital cruisers, 14 destroyers, 6 subs. So we have, it looks like 18 escorts total and 7 capital ships. We do have a bit of a screen deficiency, it's going to look like. And these battleships are Weltkrieg heavy. Oh, these are coastal defense ships. These are pretty bad. Coastal defense ships are not all that great. Not a great ship. And battleships over here, these are level 1 battleships. They're not great battleships either, it looks like. Improved cruiser hull. It's not like a pimped out light attack cruiser that you would that would be optimal. This is interesting. Got a torpedo cruiser over here. That's not great. Light ship hull. This is a pretty basic bitch destroyer. We do have 2 sets of torpedo tubes though. A depth charge. It's on the improved depth charge torpedoes. That's not a bad cruiser, the Samsung class. I think the ones that we were making though are this Mersin interwar or Weltkrieg light ship hull. This is fine to build this, I guess. We just need them to tank hits for us anyways, so that should be fine. So that's the Navy, that's the Air Force, that's the Army. National focus tree. Alright, so we got here. Pass the maintenance of order law. So I guess we're going to have some political bullshit that's going to happen that's going to unlock this for us. And it's going to allow us to put vignettes under martial law, so okay. And it looks like this is a bunch of centralization and stuff. Deal with unrest. It seems like this entire tree is devoted to dealing with that mechanic we're looking at, with the unrest and consolidation, centralization or whatever. And then once we're done with that and we defeat the Kaiserreich Pact, we get the Renaissance here. And she gives us a research slots, political. That's a pretty big stack of political power gain, guys. 0.5, that's huge. Instability. Kedivit. So I guess we can either pop it or annex Egypt. Stabilize the home. Oh no, Kemal Pasha is going to die. Oh, that sucks. Aleppo, Beirut, Jerusalem, Cairo. Alright, so it's this is what you have to do to deal with Egypt. So maybe we'll look at that. After we beat the Kaiserreich Pact, we'll look at these trees and see, maybe take a look at what decisions. But I guess whether we annex it or we puppet them is important. So before we click that decision, we'll take a look at these focuses in more detail. Judicial Commission. So I think maybe this is the equivalent of the reforms. And these, of course, are gets meant, so you're not going to know what to do, which is frustrating. But I think it was like that previously too. We're going to get political power gain, recovery rate. That's not too bad. That's a pretty tiny buff, but it's better than nothing. And it's going to get us 10% political power gain. So we might want to deal with that. Get this. We have to expand the education ministry. So we could do that right off the hop. And I guess you have to do this before you can do these other things. Okay? It's interesting that this is arranged like that, if that's the case, but whatever. Some more events. Abolition of the millet system. Okay. Constitution. So I guess we're either pluralist or authoritarian. And we'll get a different benefit based off that. So I guess I'm not sure. I assume we'd get one or the other based on the current situation. Or maybe we'll get an event or something to pick. If that is the case, it's nice to tell you what the options do. So over here, curtail religious organizations, separation of powers, emancipation vanguard. That's nice. Real population factory output. That really fucks up with our stability, though. This is for universal suffrage. We're gonna let women run for office and vote and stuff. I mean, that's pretty progressive of us. Some events. Get rid of national spirit, widespread illiteracy. That's pretty good. And some other modifier there. Combat Aegean tax paradises. So I wonder if these are gated behind different things. I wonder if which one you get depends on the path you pick. So that's interesting. Deterrence or neutrality. So if we abolish neutrality, we can join with the Austrians. We'll join the Sarajevo Accords, combining their influence over the Balkans. Okay, so we can do that. And I guess we form a faction. Okay. Or we can do some shit in the Caucasus. And we can join the Reichspact. Isn't Austria usually on Reichspact team, though? After the war starts? And we can join the Kaiser Wilhelm Society. We can get a factory in the dockyard. I don't know, 70 days for one military factory and one dockyard that's gated behind all these conditions seems kind of mediocre. It is what it is. So if we go to deterrence, we're going to lose our recruitable population factor, but we're going to get some. We're going to get some fort construction speed. That's not a good trade, I don't think. War support, we're going to get some stability. Negative percent consumer goods. Carrier max cost, cruiser max cost. That's interesting. So I wonder if it says max cost, that means we don't ever pay more than that for a cruiser or a carrier. I think that you might be able to get a significant discount, if you make really nice ships and you only have to pay a certain amount for it. I mean, that's kind of interesting if that's what that actually does. That's pretty unique too. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Greco-Turkish Accords. Constantinople has unrest. Okay. So I guess this is some sort of reconciliation with Greece, which also gives us consumer goods factories and negatives. Promote Muslim solidarity. Create the Istanbul Pact. Okay, so we get to invite a bunch of people to join our Islamic team. Invite some Caucasus people. And then this is going to give us political power, factory output. This seems like you're going to lose some manpower here and war support. You lose 1% here, and you're going to lose, I think one of these, negative 25% recruitable population factor. But you're going to get pretty considerable economic boosts if you come over this way. To polity of deterrence. I don't know. That seems kind of pointless, to play. This is a war strategy game, so if you want to LARP as a pacifist or something, that seems pretty uninteresting. But if Russia does declare on you, then maybe playing defense with these guys and having all these sick economic buffs, maybe that would be an interesting game. I don't know. Never played this country before, but I'm pretty skeptical of pacifism in general as part of a strategy game. Regardless of how you feel about that in real life, I think for gameplay that might be a little bit dull. So I guess we're going to get economic depression, so we're probably hit by Black Monday, I would imagine. We get some event. Yeah, oh geez. Factory output plus 15% is a modifier on that. It's like, this must be real bad. Yeah, that's got to be real bad. Oh shit. So we're at least at negative 25% factory output. Stability, monthly population, stability, balance, budget. Okay. 4 years of progress. Construction speed, production efficiency base. That's nice. Infrastructure, construction speed, some events. These are pretty big bonuses here too for excavation. Like, all we have is chromium though, and if we're not building heavy tanks, I think that's kind of a, like, we're probably gonna have more oil than we need. One research bonus for synthetics too is kind of like, do we really need oil or rubber with our 5 factories? Excuse me. Probably that might be good later on though, like if we needed to get rubber or something, I don't know. It doesn't really seem all that impressive. Naval base and fuel silos and convoys. Civilian factories and some more decisions. Okay, so this gives us that company that gives us the fuel silos and oil in the off-map civilian factory. Get some oil and stuff over here, even more oil over this way. Steel is nice to have. 16 steel and a civvy for 35 days. That's a very nice focus. Factory output 5%. Resources to market negative 25%. So I guess that's all right. So we can be on export focus, and we send less resources to markets. We have them to work with, and we'll get some more decisions. Like, I don't know. I don't like these decisions. They don't tell us what they do. Factories have already been approved by the Economic Commission, so I don't know. Like, maybe this is like pay political power for factories or some shit. Naval dockyards and naval bases. Like, you seem to get a lot of naval dockyards. Naval bases. Maybe not that many. But it looks like you might be able to do some decent cruiser stuff over here. I mean, you start with the improved light guns, and if you get that Spirit over there, that caps the cost of your cruiser, if that's what that does. You get a bunch of civilian factories over here in the research lot. I mean, that's interesting. I guess it is, like, again, I don't like it when they give you these decisions over here, or like gets event, rather than just like you get this, and it's nice and simple. But that looks okay. That looks interesting. And then we have the Ottoman Army over here, which we cannot do until we balance the budget. So you don't have a choice to do any army stuff until you deal with Black Monday. So I don't like that that's railroaded, but it is what it is. Doctrine, and this seems pretty similar. Get some military factories, 8th generation chance, the Cavalry Corps, another military factory, 2 researches for armor. Gain 2 4 light armor and 2 motorized battalions, 1 support artillery support group, 1 engineer support group, 1 motorized recon support group. And 2 research bonuses for armor for 35 days. That's a pretty nice. I mean, those divisions are pretty trash, but 2 100% armor bonuses for 35 days is pretty nice. Pretty nice. And doctrines. We can pick any doctrine too, which I like. I think a lot of these seem familiar from the previous Ottoman focus tree. That's not though. Mersada program. Cruiser, armor, anti-air. So this gives you that company for free. It is nice that they give you those companies for free. Of course, because our political power looks like it's going to be a problem. But these seem pretty strong for 35-day focuses. MKE. What company was MKE? Artillery. I mean, I like this one. 15% soft attack seems like that's exciting for me. That seems pretty good. It's like 35. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to get this. Like same as like 3 70-day focuses. So I don't know. This seems pretty good. I don't really like that it's railroaded, but honestly speaking, like if our economic depression is that bad anyways, probably you'd have to do this just so you can build enough guns before that war starts. So this is pretty interesting. This is a pretty interesting national focus tree. We'll see how it plays, but it looks like that'll be a bit spicy. Seems like we have like these are like actual choices and stuff that seem to like matter which path you go down. So we'll see. I didn't think the old Ottoman like tree over here was that bad, and this one seems like it's stronger than it was previously. So, and it looks like you get like a decent number of factories and stuff from this tree as well. So it seems like a pretty good tree. I didn't see too much about this whole stability of the realm thing. Low -1%, so that's stability. Stability of the realm. So it tells us that. But I'm not seeing where that modifier kicks in. Updates dynamically -29.5. So is that like we click at all these and they're gonna have like a go back here. So this is on the low. So this is -1% stability. This is low as well. This would be like a -1, and that's just like added up. Is that how that works? So this gives us some tooltips over here about majority culture. The state is aligned with the centralist movement and will react positively to further efforts by the OHF to centralize authority within the Ottoman state. Okay, so I guess if you look at this, it tells you whether or not it's aligned with centralism. Let's see if we can find one. Okay, here's one. Autonomous state. This state opposes the centralist movement and will react negatively to further efforts by the OHF to centralize authority within the Ottoman state. So I guess we'll have some sort of path or decisions to get, which will tend us one way or the other. And whichever decisions we pick is gonna determine how pissed off these guys are. I can click that. That's a click. What does that do? To better accommodate local needs and to preserve the unique cultural character of the empire, power needs to be shifted from the central authority in Constantinople to local authorities. This will make it more difficult to enforce nationwide policies or to respond to local threats by the Ottoman state, but is a policy favored on the ground and will release pressure on some of our more volatile regions. Baghdad revolt risk will decrease. Ottoman authority will also decrease. So would that put them down to like autonomous region? And right now they are a vilayet. Okay, so I guess whether or not they're an autonomous region, a vilayet, or an Ottoman province determines how much of their factories and their manpower and stuff that you get. Interesting. This gives us 2.35k growth. What is that? Recruitable population 559 out of 23.41k. All right, so that's interesting. These guys over here like autonomy. And looks like most of these guys like autonomy. And it looks like the closer we get to over here, we like centralization. So is that like just like the Ottoman like core provinces that like that? You know, I guess that makes sense. Okay, and it's a low resistance here. Do we have any? This is very low, low, low, low. So it doesn't look like people are too pissed off. And it looks like we have some options here. So we can declare martial law, which will give us a negative 35% resistance target while under occupation of the Ottoman Empire. Manpower minus 150. So we have to pay manpower and guns to do martial law. Okay, that gives us negative 35% resistance target. Instill loyal administrators, which will decrease unrest at the cost of political power if we do OHF, a loyalty program. Okay, and recruit local troops, which will give us a unit for 30 army experience. So it looks like army experience also is important. And we can centralize authority. So I guess we can always decentralize authority. It seems to always be, I guess, if we're higher than 1, you can do that, I guess. But to move up, I guess we have to have 10 political power. We have to be paternal autocrat or authoritarian democrat. And we have to have those integration target. Okay. Alright, so I'm starting to see how that game is playing then, I guess. So, revolt risk will increase if we do it up. So I wonder if revolt has to do with, I don't see, no, there's no tag over here. So I guess instead of having this resistance or something over here, we have to play this unrest game instead. Which is interesting. It's interesting that they decided to design a whole new mechanic system about that. I don't know how I feel about that as opposed to just doing it with like National France did. But I guess this way they're not damaging our garrisons and stuff like that. We just have to pay political power and manpower and stuff like that. This here says resistance target minus 35% for Baghdad, which is in Iraq. Iraq isn't resisting right now, so that seems to imply that your country is going to start resisting at some point in time. But we'll see if that prediction is correct. All right, so we can't do any of this stuff yet. I think the only focus we can do is just expand the education ministry. Failure to push through the education decree could have severe consequences, it says. Fighting an uphill battle ever since the revolution of 1908, the topic of education is of the utmost importance to the OHF. Significant steps have been made in this regard, especially on the matter of coeducation, but the decentralization of the Ottoman education system remains a thorn in the side. With the upcoming coeducation and unification decree, these will be annihilated in one fell swoop. Okay, I guess we'll start doing that. Does this tell us about our party at all? It's Osman Halk for Kos, the Ottoman People's Party. So we're a people's party, but we're like authoritarian democratic. Is that like, you know, all those countries in Africa? Like if you have democratic in your name, it makes you not democratic. I wonder if that's like that. Alright, so right away we're going to get this rifle. I'm a little bit stuck here because like I do like having tank units, like even early game, like even if we just got, do we even have recon company research? No, we don't. But even like a unit with an armored recon company, it doesn't take that many light tanks, and you can get an armor bonus against like shitty third world units a lot, and like that's pretty strong. But if I'm going to invest in armor research, I feel like I should be investing in heavy tanks because we have chromium. I don't want to be importing tungsten when we have lots of chromium. Of course, we're not going to be able to do any researching until we have. Jeez, like maybe it's worth it to get this light tank too, to make for the Pact war, and then we can build heavy tanks after that for 186 days of research. Of course, our research is also a little bit important because we have that negative malice. I think we go with that. I think we go with, let's get some machine tools right now. I don't think we have a gun deficit to clear. Support equipment. I think probably support equipment is going to be more important than towed artillery, unfortunately. So I think maybe we just make this for now. I don't need these guys. Yeah, I don't need those guys in the field. See if we can make all you guys like rifle companies. Same with these guys. So I guess we'll go like that, and then we will maybe consolidate that after. We'll see how can I build in these territories. No, I cannot. Okay. I guess let's start building some factories. I guess we'll go for a civilian factory and see if we get that. Like, I understand that we'll probably be at war like pretty soon, so I don't know if that's like the ideal spot to do that stuff at. I guess we'll position our army later. Like I said previously, my strategy would have been to like try and choke Egypt off here, and then deal with the rest of these guys in detail. We'd like try and block off Iran, block off Egypt, and then you can like take a bit of clay off Saudi Arabia, and then use your superior navy to like invade into Egypt and kill them. And I'm also wondering whether or not it's worth it to hang on to. There's only one civilian factory over here in Tripoli, and these are core state, okay. But these are also autonomous regions. Like we're not getting all that much manpower off them, I don't think. Yeah, only 7.25k. So maybe it's not worth it to try and hold on to this territory over here. Maybe we should bring these divisions back. Let's just have everybody group up over here for now. We'll bump our rifle with electromechanical engineering. I want to make sure this is done fast. Planes, and that's fine. Decisions available. Alright, so what areas do we want to focus on? So we can send stuff to Jabal Shamar. Cost us guns. This costs us guns. This costs us guns. That seems like not great when we have a shortage of guns. Centralization of Iraqi lands. We can't do any of this stuff already. It might be like I don't know. I'm not sure how the war is going to play out differently. Like, but this would be nice to keep, and then we'll see what happens over here. I also don't want rebellions popping up over this way over here either. On these Greek islands. I'm not sure if that is a potential concern or not. So Greek islands, we can expand the Timar system. This will increase Cyprus unrest. We will get some army experience, and we will increase their integration by 5%. Shortly after the conquest of the island by Sultan Selim II, a system of land grants or Timars for his victorious soldiers was established. This granted them land on the island in hopes of promoting a Turkish community on the otherwise predominantly Greek island. The system has long remained in use, and by the 19th century, Kibris had a vibrant Turkish population centered around soldiers and their descendants. Through the plethora of wars we've been forced to endure over the decades, we once again have a large amount of Turkish veterans looking to settle down. By giving them Timars, we hope that they will integrate themselves within the Greek community and hopefully make the island more Ottoman-oriented. I wonder how much that will increase their unrest by. Let's do it, I guess. 400 days for that. Wow, this is going to take forever to do these things. Um, 100 days. So we have to complete focuses to, I guess, do this stuff. So that's like all we can do in Greece for now. Maybe that was a bad idea because that will increase unrest. Focus, focus, focus, focus, focus, focus. Like I wonder if which path you pick, because these are different focuses. I wonder if picking a different path will give you different options over here. So we need to do focuses before we can do any of this stuff, it looks like, for the most part. Kurds could potentially do this. Increase Ottoman gendarmerie. For 100 political power, which will be, of course, at a premium. Arab Peninsula, we can do a bunch of stuff. Expand desalination operations. Get a building slot. Increase integration. So, like, this seems like that would probably be pretty good to do for the Peninsula. In Hejaz. I guess we need focuses for all this stuff over here for Iraq. Yeah, okay. So I guess there's not much to do with that for now. So this would help them win. And we get 25 political power and 10 army experience for doing that. At the cost of 250 infantry equipment. 25 political power, I don't know. Like maybe we would do that and spend the political power on something else. Like this. I don't know, like you'd have to work out a strategy to play this mini game probably. So like that's like a bit annoying. I'm not like a huge fan. So I think that's all we're gonna do for now. Let's start the game at the 1 fucking hour mark. Jesus Christ. A lot of stuff to go over with this country though, it looks like. Alright, we got some events here. The Ottoman Empire before the Weltkrieg. The Ottoman Empire, once one of the greatest empires in history, saw its decline commence in the late 18th century, developing to the point of being known as the sick man of Europe by the early 20th century. More like the terminally ill man of Europe, am I right? An inability to effectively industrialize, constant foreign meddling in its affairs, and a troubling hold on a lot of its provinces meant that the Ottoman Sultanate had fallen back well behind the European powers by 1876. Nonetheless, the Ottomans reformed, despite the issues these posed on a local level, where tribal issues and a corrupt bureaucracy reigned supreme. Light could be seen, prompted by Mahmud III in the early 19th century, and further pursued by the young Ottomans. Radical changes were introduced in the empire. Land ownership was restructured, and the Janissaries eradicated. A central rule be established in regions such as Mosul and Al-Hassa, and a constitution promulgated. The focus of these reformers was based on the idea of Ottomanism, and attempted to foster a common identity for all its inhabitants besides their local one. It would not be enough. With Abdulhamid II's right to power, a change would come once more. Under the pretext of the Russo-Turkish War, the constitution was abolished and Parliament sent packing. This period saw a radical centralization of power under the figure of Sultan Khalif. With a constant threat by Christian powers, the Sultan turned towards pan-Islamism based on the prestige of the Caliphate. Despite enjoying great success from the Muslim population, this would only hasten the departure of the territories without these. Furthermore, his absolute rule fostered great discontent amongst the population, which increasingly became familiar with Western ideas. Damn Western spies. This resistance would consolidate itself in the shape of a Committee of Union and Progress. A coup d'etat in 1908 made Ottoman politics, long suppressed by the Sultan, burst into the open. Dozens of parties would attempt to find a seat within the newly restored parliament, as it seemed the Ottoman decline was finally at its end. The United Democratic Forces would not last and quickly saw a split between the decentralists and the centralists. Though a tumultuous 5 years, these two sides would battle for control. In 1913, with a raid on the Sublime Porte, the game was up. The centralists, with as significant public figures, the three pashas, would eradicate all remaining power of the decentralists and shape the nation in their image. Under great threat by the imperialists, they ultimately strengthened ties with Germany. That's interesting. I was thinking about this too before I forget. Like, there seems to be kind of like France, like a lot of resistance shenanigans going on. So I'm just gonna play it safe and create our intelligence agency right off the hop. And it looks like this is like a unique symbol for it even. Aliye Emniyet Hizmeti or whatever. Okay, let's create this agency. If not, you can do intelligence and that's helpful and stuff too. Very interesting. The Ottoman Empire during the Weltkrieg, part one of two. Jeez, it's a lot of text here. The Ottoman Empire officially entered the Weltkrieg on October 29th, 1914, with the arrival of Wilhelm Souchon, with Goeben and Breslau, and the shelling of Edessa. The Ottomans won several significant victories in the early years of the war, such as the Battle of Gallipoli and the Siege of Kut, but there were setbacks as well, such as the disastrous Caucasus campaign against the Russians. Disaster continued in 1916 with the start of the Arab Revolt, combined with a new British offensive under the command of General Edmund Allenby. Coming to a head in 1918, devastating defeats in Palestine led to a mass retreat of Ottoman forces. Jerusalem, Damascus, and Aleppo fell in quick succession as only the controversial decision by the commander of the Sixth Army to withdraw into the mountains of Anatolia was able to stop the chain of reaction. A valiant defeat at Antep and a Pyrrhic victory near Maras ultimately stopped Allenby in his tracks. At that point, the atmosphere of the empire was rapidly changing, as the Ottoman government realized that even a victory would come at a cost. Furthermore, a change had happened in the palace as well. The CUP puppet, Mehmet V, had passed away, and in his wake followed the far more assertive Vahdettin. Seeing the collapse of his empire on all fronts, and with the CUP government held responsible for the disaster, he would lash out and attempt to shift power to his allies in the HIF. With the ground heating up under their feet, Talat Pasha would then, at the instigation of Jamal Pasha, attempt to shut down the Sultan. Harsh famine in Istanbul due to refusal by German forces to supply it with Ukrainian grain, betrayal in the Caucasus by its allies, the attempted silencing of the Sultan, and rumors that the commander of the Sixth Army was in open conflict with the Ministry of War would finally tip the bucket over. In a massive wave of anti-German and pacifist fervor, the cabinet of Talat Pasha was forced to resign and concede to the Sultan. Ahmet Tevfik Pasha was appointed Grand Vizier and tasked with the creation of a government of national unity. Under pressure from the CUP, whose unwillingness to lift their grasp on power made negotiations collapse, Ahmet Tevfik Pasha resigned and was replaced with Ahmet İzzet Pasha, creating a government consisting of Kadbet Bey, Fethi Pasha, and Rauf Pasha. It became quickly clear that the CUP was far from defeated. Interesting. The Ottoman Empire during the Weltkrieg, Part 2 of 2. The fall of Greece and the growing risk of revolution in the British Protectorate of Egypt caused Allenby to revise his strategy and withdraw part of his forces. As France collapsed in the late 1919, the war entered its closing stages. In contrast with the Western Front, however, where Austrian forces pushed into Italy and Germans into France and Belgium, the Ottomans at this vital moment had lost over half their empire, either occupied or readily vulnerable to a concerted British attack, and were held up by a British force unlikely to stand down. Sultan Vahdettin opened negotiations with the British in an attempt to salvage what remained of his empire, whilst Britain reconsidered its attitude in the Middle East. With the Treaty of Copenhagen ceasefire later that year, demanding immediate withdrawal of all remaining Ottoman forces from the territory of the Central Powers, a rapid solution for the Eastern question was necessary. Further trouble for the British in Egypt, Afghanistan, and occupied Iraq ultimately forced their hand, and the order was given to withdraw. Only Palestine and the Vilayet of Basra would remain under the occupation at the insistence of Jan Smuts and Leo Amory, until an acceptable treaty was reached surrounding the rights of its minorities, masking their intentions of an Indian base in Iraq and a fortified position near the Suez. With uncertainty in the political climate of the Ottoman Empire and the punishment for the perpetrators of the Armenian massacres far from likely, international opinion shifted away from the empire, losing much of its support from the Central Powers. An accord was reached in the summer of 1920, wherein two autonomous regions were established, to great anger of both Turks and Arabs. The Mustafirate of Jerusalem, MOJ, was created in Palestine, stretching from the Allenby Line into the Red Sea. This de jure part of the Ottoman Empire was to be governed by an international council consisting of the German Empire, British Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire, USA, and the Ottomans themselves, forbidding the entry of Ottoman troops and an international gendarmerie force to maintain the peace within Palestine. In the Vilayet of Basra, a new home was to be created for the Assyrian people, whose exodus from the plains of Nineveh and Lake Urma had left them refugees in an Iran openly hostile to their ambitions. So is this like another... Like, Basra is over here, and that's just a core state of us. So I guess that's not like the same thing as Jerusalem under the international mandate. But it looks like this is an autonomous region, though, I guess, so fair enough. Okay. Now we're back to 1 of 2 again. So this is after the Weltkrieg, okay. As formal peace finally arrived in 1921, the borders of the Ottoman Empire had largely remained the same. The obelisks of Kars in Ardahan were recovered with the addition of Yerevan, whilst the Aegean, the Italians, I'm messing that up. The oblasts of Kars and Ardahan were recovered with the addition of Yerevan, whilst in the Aegean, the Italians were pushed out of the Dodecanese. The damage had been immense, however, as though the actions of the CUP, especially Jamal Pasha, tensions between Turks and Arabs had burst into the open. Whilst in eastern Anatolia and Mount Lebanon, whole populations were eradicated either through forced deportation or starvation. Losses of the Turkish side had been colossal as well, leading to underpopulation and a sharp decline in agricultural output, the empire's main source of income. Although the Arab revolt had been a colossal failure, the need for reform was recognized. Answering to the Arab Congress of 1913, the Arabic language was recognized as the second language of the empire. Increasing the factionalism within the CUP and the meteoric rise of many military figures tore away at the internal stability of the party. Betrayal by its German allies in Palestine gave rise to a substantial anti-German faction, as public opinion of the party declined even further. The CUP changed its name to the Tesadat and openly ousted some of the dictatorial figures within. Jamal Pasha went packing, whilst Talas' influence was greatly reduced. Working from his position as Minister of War, Mustafa Kemal Pasha ousted the German military mission and commenced an ambitious military restructuring. Receiving great acclaim for his actions, Kemal continued laying the foundations for his rise in power. Fearing another Enver Pasha, the upper committee of the party pushed Kabit Bey forward as its leader. Incapable of successfully challenging him, Kemal made a successful bid for power in 1925. The party changed the name a second time to Ottoman People's Party. Interesting. The 1926 elections ended in a victory for the OHF, but many were quick to remark that this was less due to the party itself and more due to fragmentation of the opposition, where more than a dozen parties fought for any given seat. The newly appointed Grand Vizier did not hide his ambitions, and in a flurry of reforms, he pushed the nation towards his ideals. Massive strides were undertaken in the areas of education, economic recovery, and the fight against the religious establishment. The authoritarian style of the Grand Vizier, however, led to a further splintering of the party, when his former ally and friend Kazim Karabekir Pasha broke with the party and created his Democratic Party. Under the threat by the rapid centralization of the government apparatus and with many conservatives afraid that the OHF may be attempting to break with tradition, the 1931 elections ended in the first electoral defeat for the OHF. The Ottoman Party for Administrative Decentralization under its leader Haki al-Azm became the grand winner of the elections and formed a coalition with the HIF and the DF to provide a united front against the growing centralist threat. The coalition, however, was under constant attack as the various parties that played in it had conflicting opinions of a non-OHF policy. Tensions reached a breaking point in late 1932 when the government of Haki al-Azm collapsed due to disagreement within the HIF and DF. A new government was created under HIF leadership, but as a minority government, failed in achieving its goals of decentralization and liberalization. The continued failures by this coalition went a long way in repairing the reputation of the OHF, which received a solid majority in the 1935 elections. As Grand Vizier Mustafa Kemal Pasha begins his second term in office, signs have started to appear that he may be looking for an alternative to the constant obstruction by the Ottoman Chamber of Deputies and interference from the conservative lobby through the Caliph. Interesting. So, does that mean we're going to be dictator? The Ottoman Economy in 1936, aftermath of the infamous decade. When the dust settled in 1920 and there finally came an end to the almost decade of non-stop war, the economy of the Ottoman Empire lay in tatters. The manufacturing economy, which had been a slow but steady growth in the CUP era, was knocked down as the effects of the Armenian genocide took their toll on the educated middle class. Doctors, engineers, entrepreneurs, etc. all became critical jobs as the continued exodus by Greek Ottoman citizens in Asia Minor showed how devastating the national economy plan was to the ravaged nation. In a similar way, the agricultural sector is ruined as the real effects of the war started to sink in. The loss of the Anatolian Turkish population was mind-boggling, as almost 25% of the pre-war population was gone, leaving behind an abundance of land without the manpower to work it. Nonetheless, the Sublime Porte did not sit idle, and plans for a swift recovery were quickly drafted. As the first post-war cabinet made it their number one priority, railroads left behind by investors of nations no longer existing were nationalized. The dreaded OPDA was completely shut down and its monopolies transferred over to the state. The national economy program became the number one priority of the Ottoman government as the horrors of the war and reliance on untrustworthy non-Turkish population left deep scars amongst the ruling elite. A Muslim bourgeoisie had to be groomed to challenge the traditional Christian dominance. The people educated, and the empire finally launched into the 20th century. Grand plans, but little resources. The Ottoman economy in 1936, an era of growth. As the years ticked by and the economy reached its pre-war state by the late 20s, the then-ruling OHF took development to the next level. As a sequence of four-year plans were laid on the table and the hold of the government on the economy was tightened even further. Then in 1931, the unthinkable happened, as the nationalist coalition was decisively brought down by the Liberal Entente, who reopened the economic foreign investment and toned down etatist. I'm not sure what that seems. I'm not sure if that's a word, etatist. If it's a word, I don't know what it means. Measures so carefully crafted in the decade before. Nonetheless, the economy kept expanding as industry popped up all across Anatolia and the Levant, financed by an almost never-ending wave of economic prosperity in the German Empire and low import costs for machinery and build. Oh, geez. So our economy is tied to the German economy. That's not good. By the middle of the 30s, the Turkish economy had never seen better days, as a feeling of euphoria and progress could be felt from Beirut to Smyrna. Nonetheless, many have pointed out warning signs on the horizon as increasing instability on the continent and stagnation of the German economy will likely bring issues to the Grand Orient as well. Well, that was foreshadowed in our focus tree, wasn't it, kids? Praise Devlet e Ebed Mudet, eternal state. Okay. I don't speak Turkish, obviously. Nope, Kerensky bit the bullet. Hopefully we can stop our boy Kemal from dying. I think he just dies of old age, right? That's what it was in the first... before the rework. But if we got to LARP as Kemal, that'd be cool. I don't remember exactly what I did, but I remember reading that he was like some kind of like important guy or something. Kemal Pasha. He's a pretty good field marshal too. He comes with adaptable, I think, so it always sucks to lose an adaptable guy. Or maybe that's a different mod that he has that. Education debate in the Meclis-e-Mebusan. The fight over the minds and spirits of the population has been vigorously fought over the last few decades, as the unrelenting pace of modernization has also greatly affected this field. Started deep in the 19th century, the reforms have progressed in a steady progression over the years, mostly carried by the secularist movement. The OHF has continued this conflict post-Weltkrieg with first the participation of women in higher education and official full coeducation only a few years later, promoted by Sultan Vahdettin. Nonetheless, this policy is finding it hard to be fully implemented on the ground, as heavy opposition from the conservative ulema and the continued split in the various education systems makes any centralization hard to accomplish. So I guess as if we're going to be centralists with Mustafa Kemal here, I guess we want women to be educated. Doesn't sound very right-wing, but okay. The Ottoman education system, consisting of three main branches, remains divided, and even though the Iadi and Sultani reformist schools established by the Tanzamat Reforms have been united into one district curriculum, the medreses, religious education, and minority schools, protected by the millet system, remain a thorn in the side of the Ministry of National Education. Long been a staple of the OHF, it has detailed its plans to unite all three systems, place them directly under the ministry, and to streamline the curricula to both promote social cohesion and make it more approachable to the common citizen. Over the last few years, primarily during the first tenure in 1927, massive strides were made towards accomplishing this goal, but the subsequent decentralist government of 1931 has overturned this policy once more in favor of education on a vilayet level, as such causing a divide in both the quality and accessibility of education depending on efforts of the wali. Now that the OHF is firmly back in the saddle, it has brought to the table the sum of its designs, the Co-Education and Unification Act, finally putting to law the full unification of education in the entire realm, and the forced coeducation of male and female. The party has found itself up against a wall of conservative forces funded by the powerful Sufi lodges in an attempt to prevent the power over government to fade. Change is in the air. Okay, we get 30 PP. I bet the next event takes that 30 PP away. Just a prediction. Alright, what do we got? We can spend that 30 political power too, apparently. We can do these desalination options. I think, Do we get integration over here? No. No. This is an army experience and war support. Okay, so we have to pay 35 army, or we get 35 army XP. We pay 250 rifles. But we can use the army XP to recruit local troops. That might not be a bad deal. Might not be a bad deal. And we have a surplus of guns now, even. Alrighty. Let's maybe train our guys to regular status. We might need that boost. That's going to attrition a lot of guns, though. Let's do it for now. I think, do we want to integrate the Arab Peninsula? Yes. It's 200 days. Like, I don't know. I haven't played this before. I don't know. I don't know what this, how this is going to work out. So we'll try it. We'll do that. Like, maybe let's pick up this army experience and war support. And we had extra guns anyways, so. So maybe I'll also trade for 1 steel. I guess we'll trade with the Germans. And like if the ships are late, that's probably fine. I clicked those buttons, didn't I? So I guess I have to wait until after these guys are back to get those benefits or something like that. I don't know. So I was supposed to get 35 political power for each of those things, plus some more support, right? That's what's said on the tin, didn't it? Madrasas fight back against the OHF. A petition signed by 300 ulema from across the empire has reached the desk of the Grand Vizier earlier this week as the nearing vote on the Co-Education Unification Act is stirring up commotion throughout the nation. Nonetheless, there is no united opposition to the act, as even within the ulema themselves, many are seeing the benefit of centralized education, with some even openly expressing their support for the act. Okay, so we take a 10 political power hit. Like, I don't think we're going to get close to 100 anyways. Like, we can't up our law. That sucks. We're not going to get 150. That's too far out. Alright, so we got that, and let's, this reduces damage to garrisons, and like that seems like that might be important. Let's maybe get that while we still have the 8 factories to pay for it. Like I get the feeling that like I saw some consumer goods debuffs there in the focus tree. Vote on the education decree. And this is the one where it told us we'll be fucked if we don't pass it, right? And we have resistance in Fizzan. So it's a good thing we got the agency, so we'll have a spy to like put on that. Including the controversial Co-Education Unification Act, the Meclis-e-Mebusan Chamber of Representatives was presented today with a wide variety of decrees and plans by the modernist OHF. As the OHF has a majority in the House after their 1935 electoral success, many are worried that the Sultan may yet interfere through the Meclis-e-Ayan Senate, whose members are almost entirely appointed by the Padishah himself. Known for being a devout Muslim and sharing many of the conservative tendencies of the opposition, the Sultan has kept himself absent from the political process since his ascension 10 years ago, either because of a general apathy or as some whisper out of fear that what happened to Abdulhamid II may yet happen to him as well. With the future of religious education through the madrasas now on the line, however, many expect the Caliph of Islam to finally take a stance against secularists. I think I will pass the law. Travailleurs elected in France. Black Monday. That's unfortunate for us, isn't it? Speaking to editors of both Constantinier and the international papers, the Grand Vizier has given a statement on the success of the vote and the expansion of the ministry. The decision taken by the Ottoman Parliament today is what the nation had wanted, naturally and genuinely. There's no need to look at it as something extraordinary. Showing off the stack of letters he received from intellectuals all over the empire, the Pasha has once again shown to the international press that the people stand behind him. Whether or not this is actually the case is left vague, and opposition papers are already describing vividly how this is an affront to the proud traditions of our state. A grand success for the Ottoman nation. Okay. Alright, so we've done that. Do we want to do these things? Alright, okay, so for every non-Turkish state outside Anatolia, we're going to get these benefits here. We get air superiority benefits. That's good. And organization recovery rate. Like, those are pretty good. I guess we would have to do all of this stuff first. But I'm thinking we might get hit by that, Monday fun day. So maybe we don't want to do that just quite yet. Antoun Sadeh publishes The Genesis of Nations. A journalist from Beirut is making shockwaves in the Syrie Vilayet with his romantic view on a greater Syria free from Ottoman rule, that bastard. Taking inspiration from the ancient Assyrian Empire and return of the Fertile Crescent of old, he pleads for a nation spreading from the Suez Canal in the south to the Tarsus Mountains in the north, and from Kuwait in the east to Cyprus in the west. Through the survival of a nation consisting of such a massive amount of different ethnicities and religions seems a fairy tale. Diversity is our strength, guys. That's ridiculous. The man not only follows closely to the Kemalist ideal of a secularist state, but also inspiration from the syndicalist powers seems apparent as well, with a focus on abolishing feudalism, nationalizing vital areas of the economy, mandatory education, and universal health care. Well, this guy, Bernie Sanders? Even though its popularity amongst Syrian people seems rather low for now, the governor of Beirut has ordered his arrest, and the man has been imprisoned for treason against the state and instigating revolutionary activities. Troubling news. We get unrest. It's unfortunate, isn't it? A little bit unfortunate. Oh, and Austria's out of Italy. Oh, now we're down to having very little PP. Small PP. Black Monday gonna hit? Yeah, there it is. Crisis, chaos, disaster. All across the world, economists and business owners are in a state of panic as the unthinkable finally happened earlier this week when the Berlin Stock Exchange collapsed. Similar to Berlin, Constantinier is on high alert for any changes to the situation as they watch the economy collapse into the ground. Nonetheless, there is far less of a crisis in the empire than many initially expected, as the protectionist nature of the empire during the 20s has formed the foundation of a structure capable of resisting most shocks on the global market. To ensure the fears of the private sector are quelled, and to outline the next 4-year plan envisioned by the OHF's economic partners, a second economic congress is planned to be held in the city of Samsun on the Black Sea, Samsun Iktisat Kongresi. Combining both projects from the private sector and showcasing the advances of the Turkish economy over the last few decades, it not only serves as a way to calm down Ottoman investors, but also a showcase of modernizing Ottoman nation to the world. Okay? Mehmet Selay opens the SIK. Yikes. 20 stability, consumer goods, factories 10%, negative 30% construction speed, negative 3% factory output. That's unfortunate. When do we have to click that by? 13 days we have to click that. Oh, there's the war there. Pay food, backs, and king. Insufficient. Maybe that was the case for a while now. So we could do this. don't think we need to yet. I think I might want to do here is hold political power and then get a gun company before that finishes to get the extra 15% soft attack on your gun. Like, that might be a smart idea. So I might try doing that. It is 50 days without doing a focus, though. Well, not quite 50 days. Be a bit less than that. I don't know. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna go for it. We'll see it. We'll see how that works. Infiltration, own operative detection factor, safe cracker, and tough. Counter intel. Safe cracker is good, but I don't think I'm going to be doing the doing any blueprint stealing. Well, start reducing that resistance. Let's start getting anti-partisan. So that's bypass. We can do this stuff over here first. Factory output 15%. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead. Like, we're going to switch those lines anyways. Let's see if we can get that gun manufacturer and just get a better rifle. Renovation of the Topkapi Palace completed. The former imperial residence of the House of Osman, Topkapi Palace, was ordered in 1459 by Mehmed the Conqueror. As the centuries dragged on, however, the sultans and their households preferred their other residences on the Asian side of the Bosporus leading to the court, moving over to the Dolmabahce Palace. Nonetheless, retaining some of its former functions, such as the imperial treasury, the palace was finally emptied in 1927 after the death of Mehmet VI a year earlier. Sultan Abdülmecid II, a patron of the arts and a famous artist himself, subsequently granted the grounds to the Ottoman state as for use as a museum and art exposition. Closed for almost 8 years, the buildings were thoroughly renovated and restored in an attempt to once more show the splendor of the Ottoman Empire and hopefully rekindle the old Ottoman spirit. Opened with a splendid party in the Enderun, the old Sultan himself presented a multitude of his own works and various masterpieces of contemporary Ottoman art to the gathered world press. The Saray-i Sadid-i Amire shines once more. I don't speak Turkish again, guys. OPAD strengthens hold in the Mashriq. The Ottoman Party for Administrative Centralization is making increasing waves in the Mashriq as a variety of parties in the greater Syria region were absorbed into their organization. Although a similar hand was reached out to the Arab parties in Iraq, this offer was partly declined as fear of increasing Damascene influence among the Arab movement was seen as counterproductive to the ultimate goal of Arab autonomy. They were only making themselves a bigger target. Death of Pius. Alright, you guys trained yet? Almost. First International Congress. I don't know if it's worth it to do this for the attrition, but I'm thinking maybe we go quality over quantity. I've heard I heard there was some like it was the Ottomans were like a pushover without the buff the mods gave them when the AI is doing it. So I'm expecting that maybe maybe these guys have been buffed a bit. Of course, like Jabal just got a new tree. I think Egypt has some other stuff going on with them as well. I got anti-partisan. Let's just get that next anti-partisan upgrade. Alright, we have 150 PP, so we'll get the 15% soft attack company. Let's do import tariffs. Of course, losing that production efficiency also sucks, but like basic guns are like pretty trash. The engine clique capitulates. Alright, Alright, so we got that. I'm still working on that. Like, do we go for the light tank? Like, even the heavy tank. If we start making some heavy tank ones, I mean, that's probably good enough to, like, bully some of these other guys. Like, if we're going to stick them in infantry units anyways, like, the speed doesn't really matter. And that would, Of course, we might also want to get construction. Or, like, doctrine also is probably pretty good. Let's maybe get a doctrine. DDY absorbs Chemins de Fer Orientaux. Chemins de Fer Orientaux have officially been integrated within the DDY today after a short round of funding, but the government was able to acquire the last remaining tracts from Austrian and German shareholders in the wake of the Berlin crash. The railway company, which was founded in 1868 to build a railway line connecting Vienna and Constantinople, has had a rough history in various wars. Border adjustments and financial crises left it broken up. Its most famous user, the luxury Orient Express, has in the past connected Paris to our grand capital, where it arrived in the Circesi terminal. And the Weltkrieg, however, caused great damage to the company as German Metropa laid claim to a large portion of its assets in the Central and Eastern Europe. Even though the Orient Express still arrives from Strasbourg, one cannot deny that the end is nearing for the imperialist grandeur of old. A worthy purchase. I think the French bought that, right? Riots in Damascus, instigated by the sharp economic downturn in the region and populist rabble-rousers. The Syrian people seem to be shifting the blame for the current economic crisis towards the central Ottoman government. The rapid decrease in the price for agricultural produce in the meanwhile is taking a toll on the recently settled tribes of the Syrian hinterland, where banditry is increasing by the day. In the intellectual center of both Syria and the Ottoman Arabs in general, SAM, a general strike against the government has been called. More disturbing, however, is the increasing polarization of the political landscape in Syria, as groups such as the authoritarian SSMP and the Syrian Syndicalist Party are growing in size and influence. Troubling. Oh no, my stability. Fuck! Stability. Let's take a look at our generals, too, before I forget. Get our consumer goods factories. Anti-partisan. I think we need 5 upgrades for the, Is that right? To get the next buy. Let's just get a couple upgrades and we'll get the next buy. Let's get that early. We'll get the 2 spies to help us out with that. We'll hold this slot to boost our industry. Alright, if we do want to do heavy tanks, I'm thinking we might. We've got the chromium for it. So focus tree. I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a 70, 70, and another 70. So it's like 200 and something days. So it's going to be longer than that we need to start working on our tank. Tank is only 178 days. And it'd be 210, right? 70, 70, and 70, was it? 70, 70, 70. Yes, 210 days. So like as soon as we start that first focus over here or something like that, we can start also researching our tank, and that should line up properly. We'll leave this slot, like this will finish, and we'll use this slot to boost the industrial tech that we pick. Gun was done, and we need to switch over our rifle, which I didn't do. Of course, you can't create variants of rifles. We'll do that. Yeah, 6.9 soft attack. Bread riots in Aleppo. As the economic situation in the realm deteriorates, the Syrian city of Aleppo has once again been hit by bread riots. Even though the scope of these riots remains unclear for now, a mob assaulted Christian and Jewish bakeries and flour mills throughout the city. Luckily, the governor was quick to intervene, but was able to put down the mob after reinforcements from Anatolia arrived. 8 rioters were shot in the operation, but it seems that no fatalities were reported. Worrying. Damn unrest. Go concentrated, I guess. Paramilitary wing of the SSMP. Although the immediate popular response to the Sadez party is limited at best, one cannot deny that it has made a deep impression in the political scene of Syria. As opposed to the more traditional aristocratic and oligarchic parties in the cities of Damascus and Aleppo, this new organization has a central directive, a strong political message, and a limited but dedicated core of supporters. Parading through the streets of Beirut, the new paramilitary wing of the party is certainly a sight to behold, as the Orient isn't used to this sort of militaristic and modern display of politics. Most troubling. R.I.P. my stability. R.I.P. my stability. Jesus Christ, it's almost been a 2-hour video only on May 1936. Fuck me. Get the suicide pills. See if a good upgrade to have. Alright, so we do that. Get this construction speed and factory output. Alright, we gotta swap this. We don't need tools right now. Let's get the mech computing to help offset our research speed debuff, I guess. Go like that. Trouble in Fizzan. When the Ottomans' rule was restored to the Fizzan interior during the middle of the 20s, a few accepted it with open arms, and during the subsequent years, the regime in Tripoli decided that maintaining a sizable force in the region would be too costly. Retreating all troops by some small garrisons in the urban centers has led to an almost entirely autonomous position for the local tribes. There remain discontent, however, and influenced by a resurgence of the Sanusi sect, tribes such as the Awlad Muhammad have started to show their resistance to the regime more clearly. Raids on Ottoman garrisons, refusal to pay taxes, and be conscripted have caused drastic issues for the few remaining forces in the region. A military expedition from the coast could restore order to the region. With large economic crises still reigning, many wonder if it wouldn't be best to withdraw all garrisons and grant the region de facto self-rule. In Metropolitania, there is less animus to abandon the region, as a valuable date production of Fizzan is still essential in a nation with so little rainfall. Send in the troops. Okay, let's just send in the troops and we'll see what that does here. Increase Ottoman garrisons in the Fizzan. Okay. Increased attacks in the Hejaz. Our momentary weakness is already showing its mark in the Hejaz, where delays in our payments to the tribal leaders has resulted in their retaliation. Caravans and pilgrims on the way to the holy cities are experiencing increased attacks from bandits and deserters, as the usual escorts turn a blind eye. These attacks are causing great damage to the prestige of the Caliph, and it may be best to court the tribes with what little resources we have. Okay, we'll pay the political power for that. Yikes, 0 war support. So that's brutal. Like, I thought we sent those guns out and we'd be getting something for it, but apparently, like, they got the military missions. Like, maybe that's like a certain number of days or something. That gives them a 15% attack bonus against us? Oops. Maybe that was a shit idea, wasn't it? So we want the Saudis to win then? Yikes. Big mistake. I thought we were going to get some army experience and like some other shit, war support off that, but instead we got nothing, and these guys that are probably going to be our enemies get 15% bonus attack on us. In addition to those other benefits. Wow, I got fucked there. What was I thinking? Coup d'etat in Siam. We got 45% we got 45% resistance over here. And we'll get another operative over there. So like that's probably it. We don't need to do any more agency upgrades. Guess we get these stability boosts. So resistance, so we are on, okay, so like this is civilian oversight. No, let's go with local police force. Of course, local police force, guys, we're doing like resistance. This is good. Negative 20% resistance target. So, Cyrenaica, that's it's like this stuff over here, right? It's in Benghazi, is it? Oh, that's core. Is that this stuff over here? Why can we not see resistance in compliance? Is that replaced with this thing? Okay, so like over here, there's Damascus. This is Fizzan over here. This is at 44%. So our resistance target is 19%. Because of local police force and a couple other things. So that means your resistance is going to trend towards that number. So that should be going down. Should be going down. And local police force gives you the negative 50% damage to garrisons. Which is like a pretty big number. I think that's like the best damage to garrison bonus you can get. Which will help you lose less stuff. We lost 426 guys in the last year and 520 industrial production worth of equipment. And we're using the military police guys over here, right? Yeah. Yes, we are. Yo-Yo inspired unrest in Sam. Like I remember seeing this tease like forever ago, like way before this rework came out. The yo-yo, a brightly colored children's toy which rolls itself up and down, a piece of string held between the forefinger and thumb, is causing unrest in the city of Sam. After the city's mufti has held a fiery speech linking the toy to recent droughts in the region and the Black Monday disaster. They say that while the people are praying for rain to come down from above, the yo-yo goes down and before reaching the ground springs up through the subtle pull of the string. Although this explanation for recent misfortune in Suryez seems even to conservative citizens complete baloney, the influence held by the Mufti has still forced the governor to consider his opinion, and a heated debate was prompted in the Council of Sam. It's just an innocent toy. Alright, like that's about it, I think, for this video. We're like almost at the 2-hour mark, so I'm going to run out of time soon. So I think I'll just end this now. There's no event on the screen. I'll see you guys in a minute here. Levin Freeman signing out.